When I started out, I always negotiated better compensation plans than others in the office, even when they had better education than me, were smarter than me, or had more years of experience. In this video, I'm going to show you these advanced negotiating techniques which I used from software development jobs all the way up to when I became Chief Technology Officer. First, I'll go over how to find out what your job position pays in a particular area. Then I'll go over basic negotiating techniques, and lastly, the advanced negotiating techniques that will not only how to show you how to get the most money, but also a better quality of life. Before you go for the job interview, you should first do some background research on the company. It impresses them when you know something about their company, how long they've been in business, how many employees they have, if they have any sister companies, do they have offices in multiple states or countries? Knowing this information will both impress them and also open up more doors of information for you when you're talking with them. The first thing that you want to do before you do any negotiating is build rapport. This is the best way to both get the job in the first place and also help you with negotiating in the final stages. When you first go into the interview, don't jump straight into talking about work. First, get to know the interviewer, look around their desk. If they have a picture of a dog and you like dogs, then talk about dogs. If they have something about sports on their desk or on their wall, then mention that if you know anything about sports. Find something that you have in common and talk about it. That's the best way to build rapport. And once you have rapport, then they are helping you get the job instead of just interviewing you. Before you have an interview, you should do the research to find out how much the job position pays. I will have the links in the comments. The Indeed.com and Glassdoor.com have excellent ways to do this. You can put in the location, so you're actually looking for the city that you're in, and the title. If you put in partial title, we'll actually tell you several that are close. I'm going to start with software developer. So it says, how much will a software developer make in Sacramento? $95,000. All right, and then if I say, let's go software engineer, because even if they're advertising that they're looking for a software developer, you want to be able to go and say, hey, I know that a software developer makes $95,000, a software engineer makes $93,000 with $5,000 bonus each year, which is about $98,000. And Sacramento is about 60% lower than the national average. Another really nice thing about these websites is they show you what the most common benefits are. So you should be asking about that as well. Do they provide food, commuter assistance? Click this and you see stock options, gym membership, health insurance, food provided, 401k, all these great things, vision insurance. They add up. And it's also a nice negotiating methodology of, if you ask them, hey, do you provide vision insurance? And they say no. Well, do you provide relocation assistance? They say no. If they say no on a lot of things, then it gives you a little more leverage when you're asking for other things during the final negotiation aspect. Now, this is one of my favorite parts. See how your salary in California compares. And California pays better than almost anywhere else in the United States. In fact, for this particular position, software developer, it pays better than everybody. But if you want to look, you say, okay, what if I go to Nevada? Well, Nevada is about 40% less on average. Oregon, 19% less. Washington, 15% less. Texas, 22% less. So this gives you a really good idea of, if a relative is saying, why don't you move to Minnesota? Well, Minnesota pays 25% less. What is the cost of living in Minnesota? Maybe it's still worthwhile. Let's look at data analyst really quick. What you should do is you should check these on both here, Indeed, and on Glassdoor. It also gives you, so on data analyst, it tells you the average is 76,000. But you can also see that's if you have less than a year, 72,800 is your average. 3 to 5 years, 81,000. More than 10 years, you should be around 90,000. Of course, if you're more than 10 years, you shouldn't be a data analyst anymore. You should be either a data scientist or a data engineer. In fact, we'll go into that as well. Data scientist makes 107,327 per year. And that's still 12% lower than the national average. Sacramento doesn't pay that well for data scientists. So for software developers, another really important thing to do while you're on these websites is look to see what the salaries in Sacramento section has. Because you might find that the job that you're applying for, let's say you're going for a software developer job and you're thinking about asking for $95,000. Well, you would be really hurting yourself if you did that and you were applying at Esurance. Esurance is listed in the Glassdoor website as having 70 salaries from all the different locations. So you can click on this and see they pay $110,000 on average for software developers. If you hover over this, very high confidence means this data is based on a large number of fresh, recent salary reports. So you don't want to go in there saying, I want $95,000 if they're paying $110,000 on average, and they have a $4,400 bonus each year that they're giving their people. So you're looking at $115,000, and you don't want to go in and short sell yourself. I would recommend going to Indeed.com and Glassdoor.com and putting these values into a little spreadsheet. I did that here for software developer, all for Sacramento, software engineer, IT project manager. By the way, if you leave out the IT, it's $92,000 on Indeed, but there's also an annual bonus of like $13,000. So it comes to about the same, but it's a different payment structure. So make sure that you put in the proper job title. Data analyst. Once you have this information, you will be much more prepared to go in and talk to them and say, look, I know you're hiring a data analyst and I'm willing to start at $76,000. I do expect a little bonus each year because that's the industry standard. But what I'd really like to do is I would like to become a data engineer. So let's discuss the career path within your company so that within 1 year or 2 years, I could become a data scientist. And a year or two after that, I could become a data engineer. And eventually, within 5 years, I'd really like to be your data warehouse architect. Here are some classes that I found online that will help me get to these next levels. Can we put into the compensation plan that you will be paying for these classes on a yearly basis, or maybe you'll reimburse me? I'll pay for the classes, and then upon graduating from each class with a grade of B or higher, you will reimburse me for the classes. That way, once I have these certificates saying that now I'm a data scientist, you can increase my pay appropriately. Once I did the analysis with Indeed and Glassdoor, I saw that Glassdoor generally was lower. So probably what I would do is, after doing this analysis for myself, I would then delete this information, print this out, and then take this in as a piece of paper to the interview. That way, they see that you're very well organized, you understand research. It will actually impress them, and hopefully, when you're doing an interview, everything you do during the interview is something that they analyze either on a conscious or a subconscious level, and that's when they will say, you hope at the end, they'll say, wow, I want this guy on our team doing the same level of research and due diligence, but working for us, because he'll be a fantastic asset. And if you go in there with all your analysis ready and knowing your industry, that will really impress them. They might not give you the higher pay, but that we'll get to in the next section on basic negotiating and advanced negotiating. Hit the like button if any of this has been helpful for you. Now for basic negotiating techniques. The advanced techniques are more interesting and more important in the long run, but if you screw up the basic techniques, then it could really ruin you. The first thing you want to do is make them make the first offer. If you make the first offer, you could undercut yourself and undersell yourself dramatically. I've done that. I went in asking for 80,000 when I was currently making 50,000 at another job, and I thought I was doing great. They accepted it immediately, and then later on I found out that that company was starting pay at 100,000. So always make the first offer. Also realize that the first offer is never their best offer. So no matter what the first offer is, look a little disappointed and say, and don't overact, but basically, wow, I was expecting a little bit more. And at this point, you might want to pull out your spreadsheet and say, this is what I found in this area for this position, what the normal pay is. Then be quiet and just wait. That's a negotiating technique. Wait and find out. They might at that point raise the price immediately, or they'll give you an obstacle and they'll say, hey, the reason we can't do that salary is because we're waiting for another round of funding. Our round of funding is in 4 months from now. Now you know their obstacle, you know their why, and you can help them get around that. You can say, oh, okay, well, I understand. In which case, give me the salary that you're offering now, but let's write in that once the funding comes through in 4 months or even 6 months, you'll then raise my salary retroactively to this salary that I'm asking for. And that's a great way to find out what their obstacle is and resolve it. Now for the advanced techniques. These are my favorite. So obviously the number one thing that you're going for is more salary, but that shouldn't be the only thing that you're going for. As we saw with Indeed and Glassdoor, they list off several fringe benefits that most employers offer. You want to go over those and find out what this employer is offering. The 401k match, the vision care, other things that may be of interest to you are like childcare, and go through this list. Some of them are going to be, yes, of course they offer that, and others might be, no, we don't offer that unless you ask. So you want to find that out. Also here you want to find out if they have any sister companies that may have something that you're interested in personally. So for example, if you're an avid scuba diver and they have a sister company that does scuba diving, then this is the time to say, can I get a free membership for me and my significant other for scuba diving? So I could go on all your scuba dives. That's something that if you ask for it during the interview process, it's no biggie. It costs them almost nothing. But if you wait until you work there for a month and you ask for it, they're going to say, pay like everybody else. Also, if you're into travel or your significant other is into travel and they have multiple offices in different areas, maybe even different countries, this is a great opportunity to say, look, I would like to travel to your other offices, especially if you have a skill that they're interested in. Let's, for example, say that you're a Scrum Master and you're really good with Scrum methodology. Then you can say, well, you're hiring me to teach Scrum methodology to this office. How about I do that for 6 months or a year? I train somebody here to be a Scrum Master like me, and then I'll move to your office in France and I'll do the same thing. I'll teach them the Scrum methodology. I'll teach them the Scrum. I'll teach a new Scrum Master there, and then I'll move to your office in Ireland. And I would like you to put me up in France and then put me up in Ireland, both me and my significant other, of course. And this could be a win-win scenario. They might not have been, they probably were not expecting that when you walk through the door, but if they find out that you're willing to travel to their other offices and train their people in your specialty, that could be a big win-win for them. Plus, it gives you free travel. Virtual office, that's another thing that a lot of people want to negotiate, or they ask for it. And if the client says no, there's two basics that you can ask for. One is, okay, maybe I can't be virtual office 5 days a week. How about if I'm virtual office 3 days a week and 2 days a week I come into the office? That allows me to live further away, especially if the job is in a very high cost of living area like San Jose, Silicon Valley. That's extremely expensive and the traffic is horrible, in which case you can say, look, I don't want to live in San Jose. How about if I drive in every Monday morning? I spend the day in the office, do all the meetings, spend the night in a hotel, which I would like you to pay for, and then spend all day Tuesday in meetings and working in the office. And then Tuesday night, I drive back to my house in a more affordable cost of living area, 1 or 2 hours away. This is very reasonable, and often they'll go for that. Another thing you can always do is say, okay, how about we don't do virtual office now, but we do virtual office in 1 year from now or in 2 years from now if I achieve these particular goals. If I meet these objectives, then you let me go virtual office. And maybe one of the things that I did was I moved to a different state, and then I would fly in for 1 week a month. And that worked out well for everybody. 401k and 401k matching. This is an incredible opportunity for you. It is non-taxable during this year. It goes towards your retirement, and you can put in as much or as little as you want. A lot of companies offer 401k matching, which means they will match the same amount that you put in out of their own coffers. So find out if your company offers 401k matching, and if they do, it is really a salary improvement because that is going towards your future retirement. If they're offering one amount, you might want to ask if they will increase it a little because you want more money, basically. So it never hurts to ask. Other fringe benefits you can ask for that help make you have a better quality of life, and anything that saves you money is equivalent to making you money. So ask if they cover childcare or a company car, or they'll cover your cell phone service, or they'll provide you with a new phone and cell phone service. Do they do vision care? A lot of companies don't do vision care, but ask if they can. If they don't, then that gives you a little more leverage when asking for other things. One of my favorites, if you're a more high-end person and you have a skill set that is harder to find, then you have more leverage while negotiating. One of the things you can negotiate is if they're saying that they only have a budget of X thousand dollars and you want more than that, then what you could do is say, I want 100,000, you're offering 75,000, that's 3/4 of what I'm asking for. So how about I work for 30 hours a week instead of 40 hours a week? I'll still meet my goals. You'll get the best 30 hours of the week from me. And I think I can still meet all of your technology goals. But I'm worth 100,000. If you can't afford 100,000, then at 75,000, I can give you 30 hours a week. That's another good negotiating tactic. Another thing that you can always ask for is for them to reimburse for certification and training. So if you're coming in as a data analyst and you want to become a data scientist or a data engineer, then you can say, look, I found these classes. I want to take these classes. Will you pay for them, or will you reimburse me if I pay for them myself and then I achieve a B or better grade? Lastly, one of the most powerful things that you can do during the interview process while negotiating your revenue or your compensation is to negotiate future pay raises. During the interview process, you should have found out what their goals are, what their obstacles are, and then relate that to yourself. Can you help them achieve those goals? Can you help them get past those obstacles? Can you do it in a way that exceeds their timelines, their time goals? If you can, then maybe you deserve more pay. So what you can do is say, hey, I accept the current salary, but if I achieve these goals by this timeline, then can we agree that I deserve a cash bonus or a salary increase? Often they'll shy away and they'll say no, they don't want to do that. Then make it more and more outrageous. Say, okay, well, if you don't want to do that, then how about if I exceed it by 20%, then can we agree that I deserve a salary increase? They might still be a little leery, in which case then you do the math for them. You say, look, if I exceed this by 20%, the company is going to be grossing an extra $2 million a year or netting an extra $2 million a year, in which case you could definitely afford the salary increase. do the math for them. They'll see that it totally makes sense, and then they'll agree to it because it's a no-lose situation. If you don't meet these outrageous goals, then they don't give you the salary increase. But if you do meet these outrageous goals, then they will cut you a big check. And remember, there's always two different things that you could be offering. You could be either increasing the goal, the dollar amount, or whatever their net goal is, or you can be decreasing the time. So if their goal was to achieve XYZ within 2 years, and you say, hey, I think I can do that within a year and 6 months. If I do so, then can I get a 10% increase on my pay? A lot of times they'll go for that because that extra 6 months, and then you quantify that extra 6 months will net the company an extra $2 million. Put in solid financial terms for them, and then they're much more likely to agree to the terms because it's a no-lose situation for them. And they see that it's a powerful incentive for you to work those extra effort to meet those goals to make the company successful. I hope this has been helpful for you. If so, hit the like button, subscribe for more on the business of programming. And now for the joke of the day. How do you know if somebody is a programmer? Send them to the grocery store and tell them to buy a loaf of bread, and if they have eggs, get 10. If the person comes back with 10 loaves of bread, that's a programmer. Have a great day.